because I've had little girls who have said, I want to be on TV like you. Mm-hmm. I also teach a journalism class at a local high school. And there were students in that class that they were seniors, originally thought they wanted to major in something else. Mm-hmm. But after interacting with me and after going through that class, they changed their majors to journalism and are now freshmen in college studying that. And I do feel pressure. I feel like I can't mess up. I feel like I have to be on at all times. I feel like if I'm having a bad day, I can express that. I don't, with COVID, people more so interact with me over social media and who's going to post, hey guys, I'm having a bad day. Mm-hmm. Tap. No one's going to do that. But I do feel like there are just times where I just can't fully decompress because that vulnerability, someone may see that and think I'm weak, or may think that I'm not this amazing person that they think that I am.
Get around those obstacles and make room to create opportunities. You are listening to the Around the Way podcast. And now, your hosts, Kyle King and Kiana Williams.
Welcome to another episode of Around the Way podcast, where we help you get around your obstacles and find a way to redesign your life. We are here with somebody super dope. Super dope. How are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. Too blessed to be stressed, like they say in the dirty South.
I love it. So before we get started, could you just introduce yourself and just what makes you dope?
All right. So my name is Billie Jean Shaw. Hold the laughter. Not named after Michael Jackson. So I always tell people this story. My first name is Billie. My middle name is Jean. I was named after my parents. My dad's name is Billie. My mom's name is Jean.
Oh, that's dope.
My mom thought that was cute to put it together, even though I was born after that song. I was like, Mama, you sure I wasn't named after Michael Jackson? She was like, I promise you. She had a lot going on. She didn't know who her baby daddy was in the song. It was just like a lot, So that's not where my name came from, but I love it because how many people can say they get to carry their parents' namesake?
No, that's true.
I'm from South Carolina. Love the South. Originally from Manning, South Carolina, which is a super small town, probably about as big as this room. I lost you out there. But it's not too far from Columbia and Charleston. So in that area, what we consider the low country. I went to Winthrop University. That's how I ended up here in this area, in Rock Hill, studied journalism, graduated, got a job at the Fox 46 station right after graduation, doing some reporting here and there. But then my full-time reporting job came in 2017, I want to say, or 2015 rather, at WIS, which is an NBC affiliate in Columbia, South Carolina, which was home. That's the station my parents grew up watching, and myself as well. So my parents got to watch me on TV every day. As long as my high school classmates / high school bullies. And my grandma them. So, that was really fun. I was there for 2 years back home. And then in 2017, I came here back to the Queen City in Charlotte at the NBC affiliate, which is where I work now as a morning show reporter. So you asked me what makes me dope. That's a hard question for me to answer because I try to remain humble. But I'm going to step out that box for a little bit and answer the question. I believe that just me being a grinding, not giving up on my dreams. I've been told no so many times. I've been literally told you will never be a news reporter in Charlotte, literally. And I'm here now. And I think that just what makes me a dope person. And just what my goal is to, as I move forward in life, is continue to reach back. So
there was so much in that. Like, there was so much packed in that, from the bully perspective, from, continuing to carry on your family's legacy perspective to, like, I just feel like you had a very interesting track. It wasn't that I got, like, why journalism first? Let's start there. Like, why journalism?
I love people. Even though I said I was nervous before we started. I truly do love people. I love interacting with people. I love talking to people. I was that person in class when the teacher forgot that we had presentations. I'm like, Miss So-and-so, when are we going to present? And everyone's looking at me like, girl, what? Like, why are we on this time? No. So that was me. And when I was growing up throughout church, I always spoke. My mom had me in oratorical contests, and I love watching the news. So most kids in the morning would probably watch cartoons like normal children. I was like watching the 6 o'clock news or in the morning watching those types of segments. And I remember when college came around, my mom's like, what are you going to major in? And I said, something that doesn't have to deal with math, number one.
Same.
So let's start there. And then I said, I want to maybe try this news thing. I think that may be cool to be on TV. And I want to put that out there, that the whole be on TV stopped right there, because that's definitely what journalism is not about. It's not about being on TV and being seen. Of course, I was 18 at the time and I didn't know that, but it's about telling the stories of the people. So now that I'm in this industry and I see how certain communities are underrepresented or misrepresented in the news, I'm going to just call it people of color. I have a segment called For the Culture at my current station where I get to highlight and educate people on topics dealing with communities of color. And it's just amazing because I remember growing up, anytime there was a bad story, anytime there was something surrounding an HBCU on the news, it's always something negative, anything to do with Black people. It always seemed to be negative until President Obama was elected. And then that was like your one token good story. And even then you may remember the reports that came out about that. And I just said, I don't want to be that reporter. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person to go to the Black neighborhoods and find that viral person to put on their hair tied up and acting what people perceived as ghetto, even though that is, you can't help who you run into, but some people purposely do that to try to have a moment. You know what I mean? When you could have picked any of the 10 people that you talk to. So there are things like that. I said, I don't want to be that person. So once I got into the business, that's what is making me stay, because it's definitely not a job for the week, but I feel like it's my purpose. I was put here for a reason.
I love that. I love that. Put here for a reason. I guess, so you've gotten to this place where now you're, on television. You've gotten this place where you've graduated, you've accomplished the dream that you saw as a child. What's next?
Next is to continue to be that voice, to shake tables. Working in news is somewhat like working in corporate America. You come in, you don't want to disturb the peace. You have your boss who may not understand where you're coming from, may not understand your background. You have people that are complaining, but they keep it to themselves. And as soon as the boss walks, good morning, how are you? Great. Everything is good. No complaints over here, And you want to stay under the radar so you can be that person to fill in the anchor desk, or be that person to be on the top story. But no. I want to keep it real, 100 at all times, and create good trouble. I want to be able to speak up and say, y'all put when this man was shot by the police, y'all put up his mugshot, or you put up his record saying that he was a thief, but the crime he was allegedly doing was for possession of a weapon. What does that crime have to do with that? Why are we creating this story for this person if we don't know what happens? Or, just why are we only going to this HBCU when they're having accreditation issues, but we're not going when they're doing community give backs?
Exactly.
What are we doing here? Let's raise our hand. Exactly. And I will say that even though I was raised like that, when I first got into the business, I always wasn't like that, because who wants to be, that person when you're given an opportunity, And my opportunity was rare. A lot of people don't work in the Charlotte market straight out of college. I graduated a Saturday and I got my job that Monday. So I was in there like, Billie Jean.
Yeah, quiet.
Be quiet. Just do what you got to do. Be grateful for this opportunity and move on. And at some point, I just couldn't take that anymore.
What was that some point?
So,
because I think a lot of people, go through their whole career, and they may even have their spouses that they talk the real with, but at work they're completely different. So what happened? One
of my jobs in the beginning, let me put it out. This is not my current job. Luckily, I'm so blessed to work with a management team that hears my ideas, and everyone in the newsroom really big on diversity. I mean, we have diversity and inclusion boards. We have specific training about how are we going to cover the case involving George Floyd. We're not going to call it the George Floyd trial because he is dead and gone and is not on trial. It is the Derek Chauvin trial, because he is the one who was accused of murder.
Yeah.
Little things like that you may not think of is such a big deal. And I'm so happy to work under a team that
That's the language.
That's
we
really
don't have.
interesting.
Yeah, think about
Yeah.
it. They did that with Trayvon Martin too. That baby was gone. George Zimmerman did that, not him. So, little things like that I'm able to be in a space where I can speak up about. And they're like, oh, thank you, Billie Jean, for bringing that to our attention. An email goes out and then boom. And that's how it is for everyone, no matter what color they are at our station. So this is the first time that I've worked at a place where it's been that type of relationship.
Wow.
And it is such a blessing. It's such a relief because you go home, you do these stories, and you're so stressed. And it makes it worse when you're working under management that doesn't understand or doesn't care. So shout out to my current station for that. Sure. But back to your original question, at what point did I start saying gloves off? I'm going to be little MLK / Malcolm X. I would say in one of my earlier jobs in my career, I noticed that people that looked like me were talked about, were gossiped about in a very negative way. There was a very successful woman that worked at this place that actually had her doctorate degree. Anytime she would be outspoken, there was an immediate manager that called her a B word. One time, I remember reporting it to HR because I just felt like it was unprofessional.
This was at work?
This was at work. Yeah. I just felt like it was unprofessional. And I remember my complaint being ignored and that HR director telling the manager, like, heads up, she's snitching on you.
Wow.
A mess. And then I learned quickly, so I can't come to you.
Wow.
It was just all types of different things. This is a big one that happens often. A lot of times when there's stories in the quote unquote hood, it's always the Black reporter that can go because someone else may not feel comfortable in that community. So they send the person of color to go because for whatever reason, I think there's some preconceived notion that, we are stronger. We don't get scared, or maybe we may fit in with the rest.
We're used to that.
We
live like that too.
Yeah, yeah. And so small little things like that. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. I didn't sign up for this, and I didn't learn any of this in college. So this was definitely a shock to me. And I just started speaking up, reporting, keeping documentation about what was going on. Unfortunately, at that location, nothing ever happened because everyone was so buddy-buddy. And then you became the problem when you started speaking out. So I had people to stop talking to me, people purposely saying good morning to the person sitting next to me and wouldn't speak to me. All of this at my first job out of college. At one of my first jobs. And it was horrible. And I remember calling my mom and saying, I can't do this. I will go find someplace else to work because this is not the industry for me. And she was like, they may not be the place for you, but this is definitely the space for you. And I said, okay. And I gathered what I needed at the time. I basically used what was there to my advantage. I got enough for a reel to get a full-time reporting job, and I left. And never looked back. And at that location, I was told, oh, you'll never be able to fully report in this city. And when I got to Columbia, I got a couple of calls asking would I be interested in coming back for a reporting position. Wow. And I was like, nah, bro, I'm good. Thank you.
Of course.
So, so those are the types of things. That's just on a small scale. That's not even half of it, but wow. It's crazy some of the things you run across in what is supposed to be a professional environment, and then you're supposed to not say anything. You don't want to be the troublemaker, and I'm like, I'm not with that. And when you're younger, you're a little bit more carefree at the time, exactly. And I was a little bit more carefree at the time. Wow. So yeah.
So I guess I know you're probably thinking about something. I just want to hear about, because a lot of people probably struggle with this, right? A lot of people, especially when you're, whether you're a newly college graduate, graduating from grad school, or, you're a seasoned professional, just starting kind of like a new profession, they struggle with things within their job, and then that kind of goes to the household as well. So I guess could you talk a little bit about how you, I guess, coped with that? You know, like you really were excited about this position, but you ran into some controversy within the position. Did you take that home? How did you deal with it? And I guess how did it make you, I guess, better right now?
Heck yeah, I took it home.
Yeah.
I was getting off work, coming home, and saying every 4-letter word to my friends, to my mama, the edited version, because she will gather me real quickly, and to, you know, what I couldn't say to the people that I wanted to. And I was just so unhappy. And I was like, man, I'm the type of person who's like, oh, you don't think I can do something? I want to prove you wrong. So I didn't necessarily want to leave the industry based off of one bad experience, because I knew from internships that wasn't the way it was supposed to be, but I was considering it. And I dreaded going to work. I started calling out for no reason. I was like, how many
days I got?
I can't make it today. Because if I come, it's either me call out and I don't want to get fired from, because again, that age range, I was a little bit more on fire at the mouth. So I was like, man, this has got to give. Now that's one side of it. On the other side, the stories you cover, you know, are heart-wrenching sometimes. And so you take that home with you too. I can't remember what year this was, but you guys, are y'all from Charlotte?
Been here for a long time.
Yeah, I've been here only for 3 years though.
Okay. So back in 2012, maybe 2013, Jonathan Farrell was a football player at some Florida college, and he got in a car accident, went to knock on the door to get help.
I remember that, and they shot him.
And this white police officer came to the scene and shot him and killed him.
He was trying to rob the house.
They thought he was trying to rob when he had been in a bad wreck and went to the nearest house to get help. And, you know, that was coming off the heels of Trayvon Martin and a couple of other shootings. It wasn't as often as we're seeing it now. It wasn't rotating in the news heavily. But I just remember feeling so bad for his family, you know, and when they unveiled his history, who he was a student, and how successful he was. You know, I took that stuff home with me. I took it home when a little boy got killed and, you know, over something crazy. So there are two sides to taking stuff home in this industry. What I have learned to do to handle both of those things is, I'm a mom now. I'm about to get married. Like, I can't take, you know, whatever's happening at work. Luckily, I'm not in a stressful environment that I was like before. But, you know, it got to the point where my man was like, babe, you tripping. Like, let it go. You're home with your family now. Chill out. That's one side to the work drama. And I'm like, okay, you're right. Let's not talk about it. The other side to those stories, I don't let that go. I try to stop being so addictive to my phone and looking for every single update. But the moment I stop caring and feeling compassion for someone who has experienced a tragedy is the day that I need to turn it on my equipment and go find another job. Because I don't think that you can do this job and not be human. And a lot of people forget that. So I don't want to not necessarily feel when someone is going through something horrible, but I do want to be able to say...
So empathize with those people.
Right. Let that go for a little minute and decompress. And I'm talking about I would turn on SpongeBob and have me a good old time. But, yeah, so I'm still kind of working on that other part about not carrying those horrible stories home with you. But that other stuff, I let it go if I should ever come across that.
That's what I wanted to ask. Like, I fully believe that sometimes, like, ignorance is bliss. With you being so, like, hyper dialed into things that are happening, good and bad, how has that impacted your perception of people?
That's great.
That's a good question. I love it.
Thank you.
Wow. That made me think a little bit. So I'm always, all right, I'm the friend. If my girl's like, I met this dude, I'm like, I got you. Let me do some background check. That's me. I'm that friend. So I'm always aware and asking people to verify. Trust but verify. That is my slogan for myself. I trust that you say that you are Kiana.
Right.
But let me verify by going on your Instagram page that you really are who you say you are, if that makes sense. So I find myself doing that with people. And then another thing, everything is a story idea to me. Like, we can be sitting here and you can say, wow, I'm going to really miss this building when they tear it down and put Kroger's here. I'm like, oh, that's a story idea. Why are they tearing this down? Is this gentrification? Like, what are they putting in this area? Like, how is this going to affect the neighborhoods around it? And so my mind is always going to, is this a story idea when I'm talking to people? And then other than that, I find myself interviewing people if I meet someone. And I try so hard not to do that, but it's just like natural. I ask a lot of questions, but of course everyone doesn't know I'm a reporter, so it's kind of like, okay, girl,
you're doing a lot.
You're doing a lot. Why are you asking me about my grandma though? So yeah, and it's made me more skeptical of people because of all the bad stories that we cover. Unfortunately, I think I'm like always watching my back. I'm a little paranoid about certain things. My friends want to go out of town. They're like, let's get an Airbnb. That's pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
My brain goes, we get an Airbnb, it's just girls. What if the owner knows that it's just us? And what if they break in and they do something? Or what if they have a secret camera? Because of all the stories I've covered.
Yeah.
And that is so annoying because everyone isn't a bad person. However, that's how my mind thinks. So it's really, I've recently discovered that I probably like really need to work on that because it's really annoying to think that way. So that's the downside to
it makes sense though
being in this industry.
The more you know,
it's really annoying.
Or just your experiences too. It's kind of like you see all of these different things, so your mind is exposed. So like once I'm in that situation, because I was thinking of the Airbnb that got shot up in Charlotte. A few weeks ago. That's where I thought you were going to go. And it's like, nah, I don't even want to stay in Airbnbs anymore, or all of the different
forgot
things.
About that, but exactly something like that. I'm just always like, oh my goodness, like what if this could happen?
Yeah.
And I have friends that are teachers, personal trainers. They're not thinking in that realm of the world, but they're like, all right, let's get a hotel, Billie Jean.
But then in the hotel, there's
right. But at least I'm in my own space. But yeah, so
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think so many times, and even when we were talking to Arden, she's a publicist, so her whole life is about kind of capturing other people's stories. So I guess, but a lot of times people forget to just ask you who you are. Yeah. So my question for you is, what's your story? Who are you?
My story, I come from humble beginnings. Again, like I told you guys, I'm from South Carolina, a very small town. Family's everything to me. I was raised to know that you treat the CEO and the janitor with the same respect. No one is above me, and I'm not above anyone. And so my parents really instilled in me hard work gets you success, kissing up to people. Some people may take that route, but you don't do that. You work hard. My grandmother always told me, let the work you do speak for yourself. And that's what I live by. Nothing's ever been handed to me in life. Some people are like, oh, you got your job because you're pretty or you're this, you're that. I'm like, no, I got it because I worked hard and I networked with hella people to get where I need to get. And I'm proud of that. And that's something no one can take away from me. Another part about me a lot of people may not know is that I'm really, really into Black history, hence my For the Culture segment. I'm telling you, when kids are watching Barney, I was watching Roots, y'all. Like, it was not a joke.
That's facts.
And my dad was the president of the NAACP back at home. And he's older. He's a little older. So he's lived through civil rights era. He's lived through white supremacists running for the president up until seeing a Black president elected. So I always love to sit down and have conversations with him about those experiences. He always made sure to tell me, they're going to teach you just about MLK in school, but you need to know about other people, your local civil rights activists. Malcolm X was not a bad person, teaching me those things. And I've always carried that with me through life. And now that I'm in the position that I'm in, I want to share that with other people. And I want other people to know that Black people are so talented. We're not thugs. We're not criminals. Everybody commits crimes of all races and colors, but it's not just us. And I want to shed the positive light when it comes to our community. So that's something that's really big about me. And I'm a mom. I have 2 babies. One is, she's not a baby, but she'll be 3 in May. And I have one that'll be 1 in June. So that is really my life, family, work, making sure that I am creating a positive space for people that look like me. And the other side of my family, which includes my fiance and my children. Mm-hmm. So that's me. And I'm a fun person. I like to turn up.
I can tell.
Yes. I was trying to keep it reserved. My friends you ask my friends, they're like, oh, Billie Jean, she's a ratchet friend. Yeah, but I love to have a good time. I love meeting new people. I love going places. And I'm a daredevil. If I go on a trip, I'm trying to jump off a building. I'm trying to jump out of an airplane.
Sounds about right.
I'm trying to do the most. I don't want to go and just try a different restaurant, that we don't have.
Trip. That's nice.
Yeah, I love that. I just believe in living life. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have regrets, but do it, apologize later, and keep it moving. It'll be the next headline somewhere else in the day. So that's really me. I'm a lot. I'm very extra too. Oh, and most importantly, I'm a Beyonce fan.
Oh, really?
Yes,
you a Beehive member?
Oh, yes. I found it
bad?
I'm bad.
She said,
I met her and I cried.
Really?
I did.
Like hysterically, like ugly cry?
It was ugly. It was very ugly. It was at one of her concerts. I was interning. Really quick story. I have to tell it because I feel like a proud parent. I was interning in D.C. This was the Mrs. Carter World Tour. And I remember that summer before the internship, all the tickets were sold out. This is when they do that whole, if you have a Master credit card, you can get the tickets first. And I didn't have that. I was in college. So Atlanta was sold out. I believe she came to Columbia, South Carolina. Charlotte was sold out. And I was in D.C. interning. My homeboy, who was interning as well, a church member of his, was over the VIP section for the tour. And I remember I was in the pool. He called me. I was like, Billy, if you want to come work the Beyonce concert, he called her like his aunt. And my aunt said someone called out sick today. I'm like, how do you call out sick? That is what? And she needs some volunteers. It's not paid, but I'm like, I don't care. What do I need to do? And so my phone was on 2% and it died. He told me to wear all black and my phone died. So I remember running back in the room and I had on a bathing suit and I put some black slacks and a black shirt, and it's hot in DC, y'all, over my bathing suit, which was crazy, didn't change, and a jacket, and ran down to, I believe it was like the Verizon Theater or something. My phone was dead. So I'm going up to the gate and the security guard is like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, I'm a volunteer. So of course he's looking at me like, you don't have any credentials. Who are you? But luckily, my homeboy walked up to get my other friend, and he happened to see me.
What are the chances?
I know. Crazy. And my phone was straight dead, y'all. Like, there was no, let me go plug it in someplace, because I had to be there by a certain time. And so anyway, worked the VIP room, and at the concert, she was singing Love on Top. And I was like yelling in the crowd, and she gave me the mic, and I was like, ba, 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 ba. And she was like, I see you. And I started crying. Yeah. So yeah, it was a good moment. When I look at the pictures, I'm like, it was crazy. It was crazy. So yeah.
We're going to go on a commercial break.
Okay. All right. All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are going to continue this conversation we've been having with Billie Jean Shaw. And we are going to start with a little twist. So you may have noticed the red box in the middle of the table.
Yes.
So you could take the red box and grab a question.
Okay.
And read the question and answer the question.
Alrighty. What is something that someone else tried to convince you of about yourself that you later realized was not true?
That's good.
Y'all in these questions. OMG. Alrighty. The first thing that pops up in my mind is I was told by a former manager that my accent was too heavy, too Southern, and I really needed to work on the way I sounded to work in a top market like Charlotte. And until I did that, I probably wasn't going to be able to get a job in a top city. And I would need to go to a smaller city, smaller meaning like somewhere out in Minnesota or something like that, to work on my reporting craft. And maybe, just maybe, once I did that, someone will hire me in a bigger city.
Gosh,
Maybe.
that's tough.
That is tough.
I don't know who your managers were.
Ciao.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you have a reporter voice like that you use? Or no?
I try to speak more professionally. My family thinks I do.
She does. She does.
Because I've heard, like, have y'all ever seen that lady? She's like she does a lot of TikToks.
Yes.
She has like
Janae Reyes. Yeah.
Yeah, like
yeah.
Because she has like a Hispanic
yeah,
accent, like a Spanish accent, really, but it's like crazy.
Yeah.
It's not that.
I think I do
you.
because I would say yeah. I'm gonna just say yeah because that's what all my family and friends tell me. Mm-hmm. But at this time, I was again. Younger. Freshly out of college, and I am from a rural area. But I really thought that she might be on to something. Mm. And I was thinking, what I'm not about to do is compromise myself. This is me. There may be some other country person out there who understands exactly what I'm saying and may relate to me, and y'all may get your viewership up because everyone doesn't sound like this.
No, most people don't.
And I'm like, I'm in a city that is a melting pot. Most people that are in Charlotte aren't from here. Mm-hmm. And why do we all need to sound alike? It's about identifying with someone that you want to get the news from.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And so that bothered me longer than it should, maybe about 2 days. And I really thought...
I'm thinking she's going to say like 2 years.
And I really thought that, dang, maybe I'm not good enough to... Mm-hmm. be able to stay in this industry. I did ponder upon that. But again, shout out to Mama Jean. My mama gathers me, y'all. When I tell y'all she gathers me, call me back when you know who you are, because this is not my child. Yes, Mama. I'm calling back. I know who I am again. Yeah, like, luckily my parents, I can tell them about those things, and they don't play that. Like, that lady don't know you. She's not, to hit you with God. She don't have the final say so. Mm-hmm. Amen. She doesn't. Mm-hmm. And so from that position, I went to go work at a top station that is renowned in the country, rather. And then the conversation switched to, dang, how did she get that job? Wow. Mm. How did I? So that's something that I was told. I was actually told that by 2 people. So let me say that at that place, 2 different people who told me the same thing, and
it just wasn't the place for you.
It just, and one person telling you that, then another person telling you that, you may think there's some truth to it, but you got to be so careful about what you let get in your head. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to say I'm the best person with that. Sometimes people do say things or have said things to me in the past that I internally accept. I may not tell them that outwardly, but it kind of lingers in my head. I'm much better about it now, but you got to know who you are, because people will try to paint a picture about you. People will try to tell you who you are and don't know a lick of information about you but your name. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn quickly, I'm me. Somebody's going to like me for me, just like a relationship, just like if you're dating a man or a woman, somebody's going to like you for you. And all this change and stuff, unless it's for the better, unless, it's about positive changes, about your attitude. But don't talk about the way I speak. Mm-hmm. Did you have to change the way you talk? Like, come on, get out of here with that. So, yeah, that's definitely one thing.
So I have another question. It kind of goes back to the beginning. You talk about, like, the responsibility that you feel in terms of creating a more positive narrative for the culture. Mm-hmm. Do you feel any pressure when it comes to that? Like that, I know a lot of times people like influencers or just people in general that are wanting to shake the table, or they feel like some people may look to you as you are this embodiment of what a Black woman is, or like whatever, so having to kind of stay on or make sure that you're doing the right thing, saying the right thing, does that create any pressure for you?
It does, because I've had little girls who have said, I want to be on TV like you. Mm-hmm. I also teach a journalism class at a local high school. And there were students in that class that they were seniors, originally thought they wanted to major in something else. Mm-hmm. But after interacting with me and after going through that class, they changed their majors to journalism and are now freshmen in college studying that. And I do feel pressure. I feel like I can't mess up. I feel like I have to be on at all times. I feel like if I'm having a bad day, I can express that. I don't, with COVID, people more so interact with me over social media and who's going to post, hey guys, I'm having a bad day. Tap, no one's going to do that. But I do feel like there are just times where I just can't fully decompress because that vulnerability, someone may see that and think I'm weak, or may think that I'm not this amazing person that they think that I am. And again, I know this is probably hypocritical because I just said you can't let people paint a picture of you. You have to be who you are. But at the same time, I also want to continue to be a positive light. I don't want to ever get out of character and someone see that and think differently of me if they already thought of me in a positive light, if that makes sense. So I do feel pressure in that way. And I feel pressured as well because so many people, when you talk about my For the Culture segment, so many people are inboxing me, people of all color, talking about, I never looked at this situation that way, or I never knew Black women died more when pregnant because doctors are racist. Not all doctors, but some doctors don't take their concerns seriously. These are the types of topics I cover. After the Capitol riots, I did a segment that didn't involve any of my voice. It was just natural sound, natural pieces of the comparison between Black Lives Matter protests and the Capitol riots, and how the president at the time responded to both. And I just put old news clips together without putting my voice in it, if that makes sense. And so many people, including older white people, wrote me on Instagram and said, I'm sending this to our family group chat. You changed my mind. I thought those people had a right to do what they did because, this is our country as well. And I'm like, wow. So when you get those types of responses, you don't want to let people down. You want to continue to bring the next controversial topic or the next hot topic that people may not be thinking about.
So let me ask one more question, and then I'll let you whatever.
Yeah, this is good.
It is good. It is. So I know with that, when people reach out and they have like this shift in perspective or whatever, it can create the feelings of like, oh, this is good. Like it validates my purpose and all this stuff. But I think what people don't talk about, and you can let me know if you experience this, is it also creates more pressure. And sometimes, does it ever make you question, like, is this next segment going to be good enough in comparison to this other one that impacted all these people?
Absolutely. I always feel like I'm chasing, I don't want to use the word high. I don't try to make a drug comparison, but I feel like I'm always chasing that next good feeling, if that makes sense. I'm always chasing, how can I be as successful as this previous segment? So, for example, let me try to explain this better. After Kamala Harris was elected, I did an interview with my dad. I just told you about how I grew up and what he grew up seeing compared to now. And so I wanted to do like a vulnerable, transparent segment. Like, I'm sitting down with my dad. Let me bring you into our conversations. And so many people, oh my gosh, that was great. It wasn't my reporter voice, Billie Jean. I'm like sitting here chilling, talking to my dad like we would do any other time. And so many people received that segment well. It was one of the most watched segments that aired on our station. And when you come off of that, when you have to do another one, it's like, how can I make it as good as that one? Even though the setup wasn't the same, I'm not going to be talking to my dad for every segment. And so I always try to think, what can I put in this story to make people say, oh gosh, I got to share this, or I got to send this to my family group chat, And so that is some pressure. I am actually thinking about a segment I have coming up, something as simple as National Beer Day. And I'm looking for to talk to Black-owned breweries. But I'm thinking, how can I make this exciting? Because everybody isn't into beer. But what can I do to make it where people want to click on this and learn more about Black-owned breweries? So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a personal question.
Sure.
So, and maybe I'm asking this for me. So every single week I train people, and I bring people from literally around the world to come on, and we're talking about different strategies to build their businesses, write their books, all kinds of different things. But sometimes I bring on a guest speaker, right? To be able to train, because, everybody says they're experts until you really see them train. And then it's a completely different experience, right? So I live for excellence. And I feel like my parents, just like yours, we come from very similar backgrounds. my parents pushed me, but they supported me.
Yes.
In everything. So they've always helped me understand the importance of being the best and producing results. So a lot of times, I'm really good with delegating and bringing people on to be able to train on my behalf, on my platform. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you have that lesson, that training that is like, damn, that was good. Mm-hmm. And then the next week, it's like you trust in somebody else to deliver. And then you recognize that it's like, oh, snap, like this isn't, like you're behind the scenes, like, no, this is not the experience that like the standard.
Yeah.
So I think when you said that, it's kind of like every segment, you came off the high from your pops. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, all right, now we got National Beer Day coming up.
Yeah.
So I guess walk me through your process and how you actually do create a powerful segment. Because for me, I was really discouraged. Mm-hmm. Like I take that stuff personally because it's like, if I would have done it, it would have been great, but you can't do everything. You have to delegate and you have to be, this isn't for me. This is for me to be a vessel for God's people.
Right.
So I don't know. That was a long question, but I guess walk me through your process of after a high from the last segment, how do you continue to produce?
So there's really no rhyme or reason to what I do. Being that it is news, I want it to be relevant to the current events. So I may say April is National Beer Day, April 7th, but what if, unfortunately, the Capitol riots happens again? Obviously, that is going to supersede National Beer Day. And so a lot of times I may have one idea for something and then some major news event happens, and then I try to find a way to connect my segment to what's currently happening because it's news. But other than that, I try to think of topics that we, meaning Black people, talk about behind closed doors that people may not be aware of. And when I go from there, I also look at statistics. So for example, how many times have you or you've heard a family member say, I want to go to the doctor, but hopefully it's a Black doctor, because they're concerned about going to a white doctor because they may not think that their concerns would be taken seriously, right? Have you ever heard someone say that?
Yeah.
It's a thing, right?
Yeah, literally.
You walk out this room and go say that to someone else, they're like,
why would you say
why? You don't want to, why would you say that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, let me run down the list, And some people just don't understand. So for Black History Month, I interviewed 2 local Black doctors who talked about the statistics supporting why there is a need for more Black doctors, even from an education standpoint, just the challenges they face, just going through school up until when they go to the offices, why there is an importance for Black doctors. And as studies have proven, there are statistics surrounding that Black doctors who see Black patients have a better outcome.
Wow.
Because it's cultural. You just can't say you're having heart issues. Let me push these pills down you. The Black doctor may say, what's your lifestyle like? What's happening at home? What are you eating? What's going on? You can't eat fried chicken, collard greens every day for Sunday dinner. We know it's a culture thing, but you got to put some salad in there. Those types of things that people may not think of. And so when I pull these stories out of my head, that's where most of them come from, or reading an article or just randomly walking by something and hearing someone make a comment, I'm like, dang, that's a story. I always want to make sure that it's supported by data, supported by research. And that's pretty much how I produce my next segment, relevance, and what are those topics that we know that other people may not think of. Because I want it to be educating. And I'm not necessarily trying to educate my people. I want to educate other people that don't look like me so we can all come together and help solve issues within our community. If that makes sense.
No, yeah. Definitely. If you have a segment that doesn't produce, like I feel like in our minds, we have this experience that we want to create.
Yeah.
If you have a segment that doesn't meet your standard, how do you cope with that? And then how do you bounce back?
It lingers. I don't think I cope with it well because, again, news, you're on there a minute and 30 seconds, if that, 2 minutes. And then it's on to the next story. So after the commercial break, nobody is worrying, checking for you. You know, no one is thinking about, oh, that story that Billie Jean did at 5 o'clock and it's 6:30, you know. But in my head, I'm like, oh, man, that edit was bad. Or maybe I should have picked a different part of the interview to add in there. Or why has this only been viewed 200 times so far? Like, I poured my heart and soul into this. Why aren't people looking at this more? And I also have to remember, you know, with our age, of course, we measure things by social media, but there could be 60, 70-year-old people at home watching it. And I do get emails from these people every now and then. But just because someone is not saying anything or just because your views weren't up on a Instagram video doesn't mean someone wasn't touched by what you did or it wasn't good enough. I try to just move on and just say, do better the next time. But I'm really bad at that. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Like, if it's something that I worked hard on and I know that I put my 100% effort into and it doesn't come out right, yeah, I get annoyed. I get mad at myself. And no, I don't know how to cope with that. I love that. I would just be real.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't. I have a whole attitude with myself. Yeah.
What you thinking?
So I was thinking, like, where do you think, though, the ability to just like keep going? Because I was thinking that even when you were starting and you were talking about how your mom, you know, she kind of checks you, and in the beginning you were like, I'm hearing these negative things about me, I'm not gonna make it or whatever, but you never really gave up or felt like maybe this industry is not for me. Because I think that's so easy to do a lot of times when it's not working out or you can't see it, or you're getting pushback or whatever, especially if you're if you grew up in a supportive household. It's like, why are people not supporting me here? Right. Like, maybe this is not for me. How did you stay in it?
Prayer, my family, and telling myself literally, girl, something's wrong with these people, not you. Something is wrong with them. And then one of my mentors gave me some advice. When I would call her and tell her about dealing with bad managers, she's been in the game forever, like over 30 years. And she's like, girl, I've seen things like this happen. And trust me, you don't leave because they will be removed before you leave. Don't. And my mom tells me this too. Just because you have one bad apple, they affect your life that much for you to stop your check, for you to pack up your apartment and move to a different location, because for what? If they're not doing their job, sooner than later, it will get found out and they will be removed. And every horrible manager that I have had like that has been fired.
Wow.
Fired. Every single one since I've been doing this for nearly 10 years has been fired. And so I think just holding the course, staying in the road, meaning not venturing off to the side and saying, hey, I'm going to give up. It's a mind thing, mind over matter, and just staying motivated and remembering what your dreams are. These people don't know you. They don't know where you came from, what your dreams are, and the work that you put in to get there. Because again, I tell people all the time, no one handed anything to me. And so I'm not just going to walk away from it easily. You're going to have to pull me out. Yeah.
This was good.
It was good.
This is good. And I think this may be one of my favorite podcasts because I think so many times, like, people first aren't authentic.
That's true.
You see somebody on Instagram or on television. Like, I feel like you may have been the most authentic and just transparent. And like, I know who you are at the other side of this table. And I feel like we're so quick to criticize people and what we see from them professionally, but we don't really take time to actually get to know what that person battles with. Like you just said, like, you know, I like when a segment isn't good, like I get mad, like just like any other, you know, person. So I guess if you could communicate, because you said you worked with high school students in the journalism class, if you can communicate, I guess, a powerful message to a young lady that does look up to you, that maybe be struggling at home, maybe doesn't have the support that you had, maybe has all of these thoughts in her head that she's not good enough, what would you say to that person?
Girl, keep going. Keep going. Don't ever let anyone tell you you're not good enough. And when they do tell you that, you show them that you will prove them wrong. So many people have always made me feel not good enough, from high school to experiencing bullying to the professional world to talking about how I speak and how I grew up. Like, sorry, I get emotional talking about this because so many people can be so evil. And it's not until you get older till you realize how that could affect you. But you got to learn to let that stuff go. No one but God can judge you. No one is going to love you more than the Father above. These people are man-made, and they don't have the final say-so over your life. Sorry, y'all. This is so dramatic. I told y'all I was extra. So dramatic. But just keep pushing. And I always tell young ladies that don't give up yourself for nothing. People will try you, especially in my industry. They try to flirt and bat their eye. Bye. What do I need to do? Here's my resume next. Like, don't give up yourself. Don't disrespect yourself. Know your self-worth. And just keep grinding. Work hard. So when you get to the top, you can reach back and help other people. So that would be my message.
Wonderful way to end.
This is good. This is good. Billie Jean Shaw, all of our audience members, where can they find you?
Okay, you guys can follow me. Sorry. I just had a
Stop
whole moment.
apologizing.
Oh my
Stop
gosh. Get me. You can follow me on Instagram at Billie Jean TV, BillieJean TV. My Twitter is the same, and my Facebook is Billie Jean Shaw, SHAW.
Love it. Love it. You heard from the queen herself, Billie Jean Shaw, Around the Way podcast.